My beloved child, pause for a moment and listen carefully, because this message is not meant to create fear in your heart, but to awaken something inside you that you may have forgotten. If you found these words at exactly the moment when you needed encouragement, take a deep breath and allow yourself to become still. You may have been carrying questions that you have never spoken aloud, worries that you have hidden behind a smile, and situations that have made you wonder whether anything in your life is ever going to change. You may have been waiting for a sign, waiting for an answer, waiting for an unexpected opportunity, waiting for someone to return, waiting for financial relief, waiting for peace, or simply waiting for one moment that would make everything feel different. And today, let this message remind you that your story is not finished. The phrase 10 minutes left is not a prediction that your life is literally in danger. It is a powerful reminder that moments can change quickly, opportunities can arrive unexpectedly, and you should not allow fear, doubt, or hesitation to make you miss what could become a beautiful turning point. There is someone or something approaching your life that you did not expect, and whether you understand it as a person, an opportunity, a conversation, a blessing, a realization, or a completely new beginning, be ready to recognize it when it arrives. Sometimes God does not change your entire life in one dramatic moment. Sometimes He changes one conversation, one decision, one opportunity, one relationship, one piece of information, or one unexpected encounter, and that small moment becomes the beginning of something much greater. You have been asking, when will my life change? Perhaps the answer begins with you becoming ready for change. Perhaps you have been so focused on what went wrong that you have stopped looking for what could still go right. Perhaps disappointment has trained you to expect disappointment. Perhaps betrayal taught you to distrust everyone. Perhaps rejection convinced you that you were not worthy. Perhaps failure made you afraid to try again. But God says, do not let yesterday become the prison that prevents you from entering tomorrow. You are allowed to believe again. You are allowed to hope again. You are allowed to open your heart again, carefully and wisely, without becoming the person you were before your pain. There may be a knock at the door of your life soon, and the door does not necessarily represent a physical door. It may represent an opportunity knocking on your heart. It may be a message from someone you never expected to hear from. It may be an invitation. It may be an idea. It may be a chance to begin again. It may be an unexpected meeting. It may even be a moment when you finally understand why something had to end. Whatever form it takes, do not automatically reject it simply because it does not look like the blessing you imagined. Sometimes blessings arrive wearing ordinary clothes. Sometimes miracles do not announce themselves with thunder. Sometimes they look like a simple phone call, a conversation, a new connection, an open position, a second chance, a sudden realization, or a decision you finally become brave enough to make. You have been looking for something extraordinary, while God may be preparing something meaningful through something that appears completely ordinary. So slow down. Breathe. Pay attention. Your life is precious, and you do not need to live in panic waiting for a miracle. You do not need to believe that something terrible is about to happen. Instead, let this message encourage you to remain spiritually awake, emotionally aware, and prepared for positive change. There is a difference between fearfully expecting something and peacefully being ready for something. Fear says, something bad is coming. Faith says, whatever comes, I will face it with courage, wisdom, and God beside me. And that is the mindset I want you to carry today. You have survived moments you once thought would destroy you. You have cried and still continued. You have been disappointed and still loved. You have been rejected and still dreamed. You have lost people and still found reasons to wake up. You have walked through seasons where nobody understood what was happening inside you, yet somehow you kept moving. Do you realize what that means? It means there is strength inside you that your difficult seasons could not take away. Your pain may have changed you, but it does not have to define you. Your past may explain some of your fears, but it does not have permission to control your future. You are not the worst thing that happened to you. You are not the person who abandoned you. You are not the opportunity you lost. You are not the mistake you made. You are not the rejection you received. You are not the chapter that ended. You are the person who is still here, still learning, still growing, still becoming. And sometimes the greatest miracle is not that God removes every difficulty from your path, but that He gives you the strength and wisdom to walk through difficulty without losing yourself. There may be someone coming toward your life whom you never expected. If it is a person, do not immediately assume that their arrival means they are destined to stay forever. Listen carefully. A blessing is not always a person who remains permanently. Sometimes a person arrives to teach you something. Sometimes someone comes to apologize. Sometimes someone returns because unfinished emotions need closure. Sometimes a new person enters because your life is finally ready for a healthier connection. Sometimes someone leaves so that you can discover who you are without them. Therefore, do not worship the person, pay attention to the lesson, the character, the actions, and the peace that the relationship brings. If someone appears at your door, whether literally or metaphorically, use wisdom. Do not abandon your boundaries simply because you are excited. Do not ignore red flags simply because you have been lonely. Do not call something a miracle simply because you desperately want it to be one. God-given wisdom and discernment matter just as much as hope. A true blessing does not require you to destroy your peace to keep it. A healthy opportunity does not demand that you betray your values. A genuine connection does not require manipulation, fear, or desperation. So when the unexpected arrives, look beyond the excitement and ask yourself, does this align with the person I am becoming? Does this bring peace, growth, honesty, respect, and purpose into my life? If the answer is yes, move forward thoughtfully. If the answer is no, you have permission to close the door. Not every knock deserves an opening. Sometimes wisdom is knowing when to open, and sometimes wisdom is knowing when not to. This is why the message says, open it quickly, but do not interpret that as act recklessly. Open your awareness quickly. Open your eyes quickly. Open your mind to possibilities quickly. Open your heart to hope quickly. But when it comes to major decisions, slow down enough to think clearly. You do not need to rush into something simply because you are afraid that the opportunity will disappear. What is truly right for you will not require you to abandon wisdom. There is something else you need to understand. You may be entering a season where your old identity begins to feel uncomfortable. The version of you who tolerated everything may no longer exist. The version of you who constantly chased people may become tired of chasing. The version of you who begged for attention may begin to value peace. The version of you who needed everyone's approval may begin to trust your own judgment. That transformation can feel strange. You may wonder, why do I no longer feel connected to the things I used to want? Because you are growing. Growth changes your appetite. When your heart becomes healthier, chaos may stop feeling exciting. When your self-respect becomes stronger, inconsistency may stop feeling romantic. When your purpose becomes clearer, distractions may lose their power. And when your relationship with God becomes deeper, you may stop demanding that every unanswered question be explained immediately. You begin to understand that not knowing everything does not mean you are abandoned. Sometimes you are simply being asked to trust the next step. You do not need to see the entire staircase. You only need enough light for the step in front of you. Maybe that is the miracle waiting at your door. Not a sudden transformation of everything outside you, but a transformation inside you that changes how you experience everything around you. Maybe the person you have been waiting for is not arriving to save you because you were never created to be saved by another human being. Maybe they are arriving to walk beside you while you continue becoming whole. Maybe the opportunity you have been praying for is coming, but you need to be prepared enough to recognize it. Maybe the financial breakthrough you desire begins with an idea you have been ignoring. Maybe the healing you need begins with finally forgiving yourself. Maybe the answer begins with saying no. Maybe it begins with saying yes. Maybe it begins with leaving. Maybe it begins with staying and doing the difficult work. You have been asking God for a sign, but perhaps the sign is not something spectacular in the sky. Perhaps the sign is the growing courage inside your heart. Perhaps the sign is that you no longer feel comfortable living beneath your potential. Perhaps the sign is that you are finally ready to stop repeating the same cycle. And if you feel something changing inside you while listening to this message, do not rush to label it. Simply notice it. Your soul can recognize when a chapter is ending even before your circumstances change.